Hello, I'm Justin Boyd.
Hello, I'm George Luna.
Hey everyone, I'm Brittany Pacheco.
Frank. Hi.
And I'm Nathan Hale, and we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Yes, we are. Thank you, Nathan, for that. Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement podcast. We're back for another edition. We're all coming to you from a very, very rainy and wet Houston, Texas right now. So we're trying to make it through this tropical storm / hurricane / whatever thing that's going on in the world. But we're here today to talk about The Boys season 2, as we've been doing the past few weeks. We appreciate everyone who's watching us on Facebook Live and later on who will see us on YouTube. But, this podcast is also an audio podcast. And I'm going to kick it to Brittany right now. Let her explain to you how you can listen to this show. So, Brittany, take it away.
All right, Justin. So you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts, thanks to Anchor.fm. Gotta love Anchor. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a 5-star rating because it helps us out a lot. And we're a small podcast, but we are a proud one. And follow the Watchers in the Basement on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our latest video podcast, and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to find out the latest from us. And last but not least, help grow our audience. Don't forget to use hashtag #WatchersBasement when sharing this podcast.
Thanks, Brittany. Now we're going to get to the show. We're talking about episode 5, season 2 of The Boys. The episode is titled, We Gotta Go Now. So I'm going to read the description from Amazon. This stuff is like right up my alley, too. Vought Studios is pleased to announce that filming has begun on Dawn of the Seven. 12 years of VCU movies have led to this. If you like movies about one hero, you'll love a movie about 7 heroes. Introducing the newest member, Stormfront. See how the legend began. In theaters, summer 2021. I don't know about y'all, but I don't think it's going to happen in summer 2021 because of COVID. But maybe 2022.
That seems reasonable.
Yeah. So, the show opens with a lot of stuff about this movie that they're making, and I think that's pretty interesting to me. Just seeing, the fact that the superheroes are also playing themselves and acting in the movies, and that's kind of funny. But I'm going to kick it to Brittany, so you can start us off with our character study. We're going to go character by character for the episode and talk about how each player fared in the 5th episode of the season. So, Brittany, take it away.
So we're going to start off with Homelander because Homelander is probably the biggest character on this show. And guys, you all jump in, of course, at any time. The very first thing that we're talking about with Homelander has to do with the video that was circulating on the internet of Homelander killing an innocent bystander along with a soup terrorist. And that leads to protesters at Vought Square. So I'm going to pose this question to my fellow watchers, Frank, George, Nathan, Justin. How is there always someone with a camera? Like, how is there? Why?
Surprised there isn't more. Like, how is that the first person they have on video of like him killing someone? Because that is not the first person that definitely died from Homelander's like mistakes or whatever. So I'm just surprised it took them that long for something to leak like that.
Well, I think you kind of see it in season 1 when Huey's girlfriend got killed. They covered it up. They have a history of paying off people and NDAs. So I think now that season 2, they finally unveiled that these superheroes have been manufactured by this Compound B. Now I think for the first time in Vaught's history, people don't actually see Vought in this positive, moral-based superhero company that they make themselves out to be. So now people are actually out to get Vought now. So anytime there's any type of fight, any type of mishap, with heroes trying to fight crime, people are now on the lookout.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Nathan, one of the bigger scenes in Homelander's kind of storyline has to do with the protest rather at Vought Square, and that was something I think that took all of us by surprise. I want you to set up that scene for us and talk about it.
So yeah, in Vought Square, outside of the building, a large group is outside protesting after the video has been released of this killing by Homelander in another country, and it's got a lot of people up in arms, and they're all being kind of led along by a specific, I believe there was a senator who was kind of backing the opposition to Homelander here, and to Vought being in the military. And in the middle of this protest, Homelander shows up on the stage, and he tries to do his typical, what's always worked in the past, to put on that American flag and talk about that apple pie and America's great and national pride, essentially. And it doesn't work this time. He even calls on, my fellow, men in arms, the real heroes, the military, and he's kind of crosses the line and tries to speak for them. And there's a soldier there, and he'll have none of it. And in anger, he just yells out, "You don't speak for me," flips Homelander the bird, and the next thing we know, we see Homelander's eyes glowing red as he cuts a swath of blood and gore through the entire audience. My jaw dropped. I was screaming, "No effing way. You've got to be kidding me." Holy, yeah, it was to date of all episodes, season 1, season 2, it was the most jaw-dropping moment yet. But I want to get everybody else's opinions on what happened and the follow-up, if you will.
Yeah, so let's start with Justin. Justin, what was your take on that scene, and then we'll go to Frank and then George right after.
I mean, Nathan kind of gave us a heads up because he watched the episode a little bit before we all had a chance to see it. So we knew it was coming up. And when I saw that scene, I mean, obviously, because he just cuts through those people with his laser eyes and, I don't know, kills a few hundred, maybe, I'm not even sure. You can tell, I could tell right away that it was a fantasy or a dream or something. It wasn't on the level, just because if he did that, there's no more show, because he could just go around killing everyone. You know what I mean? The show's over.
Hey, Justin, you said you don't know how many, but if you go back and you count all the upper torsos and all the lower torsos and divide by 2, you'll have the number.
There we go. Math has not been my strongest suit, but I appreciate the tips there. I'll go back and check that out and I'll break it down. But one thing about that scene that I wanted to point out is the protest there. There's a senator or a congresswoman. Her name is Victoria Newman, is the character's name, and they're definitely trying to make her seem. Her character is very much like an AOC, an Alexandria. Is it Octavio Cortez? I'm not sure. She's the younger politician from New York, in our world. Because Homelander makes a comment, he's talking about her, and he's like, "I loved your video where you're dancing to Walk Like an Egyptian," or whatever. And I think that AOC did something like that a couple of years ago or a year ago. So I thought that was kind of unique that they're trying to bring these real life archetypes or characters into the show.
I wondered what that reference was about. I was a little confused by that.
Yeah, she did something like that about 2 years ago or so. So they're on top of what's going on in the world. So,
well, a lot of that's one thing I've noticed in particular in season 2 that I've really found interesting is they are taking a lot of current day hot topics and politics and pulling it into the VCU, if you will, which I'm happy for. I'm happy to see them going there. I think I enjoy seeing a political statement played in, even if I don't agree with. I think that is every writer, every creator's. I almost feel without it, that any creation somebody makes that doesn't have their personal opinion, their personal belief system, whatever have you, infused somewhere in there, then they're not really sharing themselves and thereby their art with you. So I was really happy just in general to see that in this season.
Yeah, I think the fact that they being the story, writers and whatnot are incorporating a lot of today current issues into the show is really, really moving. George, I want to kind of move past this particular topic. What happened with Homelander after his speech? He kind of has a bit of a mental breakdown. Can I have you talk about that?
Yeah, I think he was just like, I think for him it's like it hit him hard because he's like, everyone's so used to loving him, and like he's not used to people just like really not. He cares about what the public thinks about him, and he really does like care about the perception of like how America views him, I guess. And it definitely hit him hard, and he ends up having to go to Stormfront to get help from her to try and rebrand his image to make him look better and just be on the good side of the public eye or whatever. And Stormfront ends up helping him with that, and it actually worked. Her memes and all that stuff actually worked, which is not surprising because all that stuff is, like y'all were talking about, it's so relevant now. It's the same thing, and it actually did work in the show.
Yeah, and I think it's funny how, because earlier, I'm going to jump a little bit to Stormfront, where she sees that Homelander and Ashley are having this conversation about that same video, which leads to the protest at Vought Square. And Stormfront's like having a bad day. She kind of, she's being that plucky character that Justin has, described her as. And Homelander's like, I don't need any help from you, what have you. And she's like, well, I'm here if you want me, which I thought was a very, very specific way, a specific message that she was trying to send, right? And Frank, I'm going to talk to you about this because I said it in the beginning and y'all kind of thought like, no, this isn't going to happen. There's nothing that's going to happen between Stormfront and Homelander. There's just no way. Frank, what ended up happening between Stormfront and Homelander?
Well, my mother's here, so I can't really curse right now. But are we talking about the scene that closed the show?
Yeah.
So after Homelander enlists Stormfront's help, and she kind of gets him out of hot water, they have a moment, an intimate moment per se, of, how can I say this? They were practicing making babies in a very aggressive way. And it was a very, and you called it, Brittany. Like I didn't see it because I thought it was so much disdain between Homelander and Stormfront. Well, more Homelander's front because I felt like he felt like that Stormfront was taking the shine, and a lot of jealousy was behind that. But I think after Stormfront kind of saved him from that faux pas of the innocent bystander getting killed, they have a moment and they go at it. They're tearing up rooms. There's a scene where, and I'm watching a basketball game while Nathan just out of nowhere just says what he says about laser my my brassiere area. Yeah, so it's like, and I'm watching them like, is this really happening? Like I've seen a lot of love scenes, a lot of sex scenes in movies and shows. That was on another level. And it was primal, it was animalistic, and it was crazy. It was crazy. And that was a great way to end the show.
Man, my question, of course, to this whole thing wasn't so much like, why or when was this going to happen? My question has to do with, why are they still wearing their boots? I don't know why. You would think you'd be a little bit more comfortable, taking off the boots. But hey,
Their clothes.
They're still wearing clothes.
Yeah.
Threw me off. Are you and I think that scene was so great because it kind of shows the narcissistic manner of these heroes. Like, no matter what I'm doing, like even Homelander, he doesn't have a secret identity. Like he walks around and prances around in this outfit the whole time. I think he's the only hero that does that. And like, that scene was very synonymous by showing how narcissistic they are. Like, no matter what they're doing, we're gonna be in our outfits.
Yeah, that definitely for me was like, that was such a crazy moment. I mean, like I told y'all before the season even began, I knew something was going to happen between the two of them.
Same here, simply
felt
because when we saw the initial trailers before the show came out, the thing that I remember you and I talking about was the laser tits scene. And it was like, there's clearly something going to happen there sexual. Maybe there won't be a relationship, maybe just aggressive sex. And to be honest, that's still yet to be seen, but she's been playing him since day one. As we noticed, the first time she talked to him, it was with compliment. Then she's trying what looks like to cause an issue. And honestly, if you guys take a look at what's happening romantically, if you will, look at Homelander's age. What's his equivalent age in his maturity level? He's a schoolboy. And what's the schoolgirl doing to the schoolboy? She's teasing him, pulling his hair, that sort of thing, which is exactly the kind of mentality at his age that's going to draw more attraction. That's just kind of what I saw from the get-go. And I don't know, though, if it's going to turn into something. Well, I imagine it will turn into something darker, but I don't know where it'll go from here.
Oh yeah, it most absolutely is going to turn into something darker just because of Stormfront. And let's go ahead and start talking about Stormfront. We've already talked about how she offered her help to Homelander and he owed her, and we obviously just talked about how he owed her. But she also gets really chummy with Starlight's mom. They're on set, they're taking like a lunch break or whatever. I love the fact that they have like a Vietnamese food truck, because Vietnamese what do you call it, omelet, that kind of thing, are like really, really good. But the fact that Starlight hasn't spoken to her mom in quite some time because she's still upset about the lie about Compound V and what have you. But why is Stormfront so eager to get chummy with Starlight's mom? And this is open to anyone has any thoughts they'd like to share.
I think it's because she knows that, I mean, and she tells us this later, Stormfront knows that Starlight's the one who revealed the Compound V to the public. And I think this is just her way to kind of get involved in her life. And I mean, ultimately, she, at one point, Stormfront says to Starlight that, like, you're going to be a big help to me, or you're going to really help me out. And Starlight's like, what are you talking about? So she's definitely trying to play her in a certain way. And maybe she uses the mom as blackmail, because I don't know if you'll notice this, but blackmail is like the weapon everyone uses in this show. Everyone is blackmailing someone else.
And laser eyes.
Think about,
there's laser eyes too.
Laser eyes is a very cool weapon. Not everyone has laser eyes, but everyone uses blackmail. Like, you think about it, Butcher with Black Noir, which we'll talk about later, Starlight and A-Train, just every character has some kind of like hidden thing that they don't want the other person to know, that someone does know that and could reveal that. And so, and obviously Stormfront's at the center of all this stuff.
And speaking of being in the center of all of this, we also learned a really big secret about her past, is that she used to be a member of the Church of the Collective, which, as we all know at this point, the Deep is a part of. He is very immersed into it, and he does a commercial for the church that A-Train is watching. And George, the scene that we have between Stormfront and A-Train when she's telling him about the church, set that up for us, and then just your take on what transpired.
So in this scene that you're talking about, they were together at they were like gathering during lunch for the movie that was going on, the Seven movie, and Stormfront and A-Train are talking, and I guess they saw the Deep's commercial, and she's like, she was a part of the church before, right? And she said they started letting anyone in, and she was just being like very like racist and like being rude to A-Train, and he's like, why are you coming at me like this? He didn't really understand, but that's because he doesn't know that she's like a super like racist. and he just thought it was offensive. But before anything else could happen, what's her name? That Ashley came and had to talk to A-Train about some other stuff. So she dragged that from becoming a confrontation that definitely would have happened.
Yeah, one of the things that Stormfront said was that the church started letting in all kind of people. You know, it was quality versus garbage, in her opinion, and she says that very deliberately to A-Train, and he challenges her, like you're saying, you're coming at me. Do you have something to say? Do you have a problem? And she mocks the fact that he's retiring. One little Easter egg I do want to throw out there, because I know we all enjoyed these Easter eggs, is that the cup that Stormfront is drinking out of when she's having this conversation with A-Train, written on the cup says storefront instead of Stormfront. So that's like a attaboy to the barista. You know how Starbucks here likes to, miswrite everyone's names and whatnot. So she's going to be forever known as Storefront. Just kidding. Anyway.
Well, with that, I do have a question.
Sure.
I want to pose to everybody. So if Stormfront and Homelander have a baby, what will that baby be named?
Stormlander?
Homefronter? Or just Homefront? I don't know. This is after that scene. The first thing that popped in my head is, what are they going to name the kid? So I don't know.
That's a fair question. Frank, let's move to you, because we saw a very familiar character from a different franchise. It's part of the Marvel franchise, and you being a huge Marvel fan, like the rest of us here, we saw Bobby, aka Iceman from X-Men, with a very brief appearance in this episode. Talk about that.
I do remember seeing him. I don't remember what scene he was in, though.
Was it a jail cell or asylum or something?
I don't remember.
He is wearing scrubs, and in the scene, he's credited as being a nurse with Sage Grove Center. So really, really fast. Stormfront's on the phone with the actor is Shawn Ashmore, who again is just the nurse. But he's wearing scrubs. He's got a lighter. Okay, he's flicking a lighter, which, by the way, I think it says Titty Committee. I thought that was kind of funny. But he's flicking in, and he's talking to Stormfront about this boy, or the 17-year-old who's going to be a hero. So the question is, who is this character? Because first and foremost, with the lighter, it made me think of
Pyro?
Lamplighter.
Oh, Lamplighter.
Maybe think of Lamplighter. We talked about
ding, 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 ding.
I'm onto something.
Yeah, you're right. He is. He's Lamplighter.
Wait, seriously? He's Lamplighter?
Yeah.
Huh.
That's what I read like a few weeks ago. Like when the show first started, I saw that he was a part of the show and he was cast as Lamplighter. So we'll see what happens with him down the road. But
Okay.
So obviously Lamplighter was not killed. He was retired, I guess. And I just want to point out one more thing about this actor. He was also he was in the X-Men franchise movies, but he was also on Smallville. So he's no stranger to DC also. So.
I also want to point out the irony of casting him as Lamplighter, since he was Iceman, who had in the TV show or the movies very much his prime enemy was Pyro, who would flip a lighter all the time. So I find that kind of funny that he's now playing his at odds character of sorts in an alternate universe.
Yeah, that's insane. Like the fact that he's gonna be Lamplighter. I mean, it probably goes without saying we're gonna see more of him in this season, because I want to know, and what is Sage Grove Center? What are they doing to these, young 17-year-old heroes? Because Stormfront says, no one said the job was ever easy. So is it like they're experimenting on these young men, young women? Are they trying to, create more soups or soup terrorists? Like, what the hell is going on with this?
They're creating her army. Remember she mentioned she has an army and it's not just people who make memes for her. She's gonna have a super army.
Holy shit, that sounds crazy.
I've seen the preview for the next episode. That's what the preview is about. So
Oh man, that's insane.
sorry, the sirens are on my end.
Well, after the news you just dropped, I'm not surprised.
That makes a lot of sense now. Because going into the conversation with Starlight, Starlight goes and sneaks into Stormfront's trailer to try to find information about her Stormfront being Liberty, hacks into the computer where there's a bunch of emails from Sage Grove Center. And so, Frank, I'm gonna go back to you real quick. First of all, do you remember this scene? Okay, so
I do.
talk about what happens in this scene between Stormfront and Starlight, because it gets pretty catty.
Yeah, so Starlight is infiltrating and because they're on set, so she's infiltrating Stormfront's trailer trying to find information, and then Stormfront walks in, and they go back and forth, and it's like a jockeying for power between the two characters. It's like Starlight is trying to feel her out, and she doesn't really trust her, and right before they get into it, Homelander walks in. So I kind of wonder where that would have went. Would it got confrontational? Would it got physical? But I think Homelander walking in kind of like broke the. And I know Starlight walks out, but I just wonder. I'm still trying to figure out Stormfront's angle. We know she's powerful, just based off her healing factor and how she was able to recover from being lasered by a Homelander. But I don't know. What after what Justin said about her creating an army. I don't know where her angle is as far as like her infiltrating Starlight's mother and her infiltrating the team because Vaught's boss, I can't remember Vaught's boss's name.
Mr. Edgar.
Yeah, like I guess I'm wondering, like, does Edgar know her history, Stormfront's history? And if he knew that she was Liberty back in the day, why would he bring her back? Because it seemed like Liberty had a lot of racial and PR disasters back in the 50s and 60s.
So I will point out really quick, sorry, Justin, that remember in the first episode with Raynor, she was talking about there's a coup going on within Vought, right from the inside, and that Liberty was all over her server. So there's also a comment that Huey makes to Butcher in the beginning of the episode where he says that Stormfront is actually Liberty. Vought's been passing her around or moving her around like a Catholic priest. No offense to anyone out there. But so I'm thinking that she is the coup. She's the coup that's in Vought, got brought back to Vought. For what reason, I can't imagine, unless it's maybe to take down Homelander. She'd be one of many at this point. But she does make a comment to Starlight about, oh, I do like you. You're going to be a big help to me. So that's like, is she trying to turn Starlight over to her side or whatever her cause is or what? Like, George, what do you think about that?
She compliments her. She says you're really powerful. Like, so it's like she's trying to like recruit. It's like she's analyzing what she can do and what she can't do. I'm sorry.
Right.
Go ahead, Bruce.
No, yeah, I don't know what she's trying to do with her. I don't know if Annie would turn that way, like especially after helping the boys with so many things already. I think she's gonna somehow blackmail her. Like Justin said, it's always the number one thing that they get people to do. What they want is blackmail them. So either Stormfront's gonna blackmail somehow the thing doing with her mom or whatever, their relationship, something like that. She's gonna make her do some type of favor. I'm guessing that's what's gonna happen. That's the only way I see her helping her.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm getting a little nervous now between Stormfront and Starlight and then Homelander with everybody else, because it's a lot of the soups are wanting to kind of take out or take down Homelander, which we'll get to in a little bit. But let's talk about the boys. So Nathan, Butcher's having kind of a rough time, after the fact that his wife Becca didn't want to leave the compound with him and leave her son. So it's kind of on a destructive streak.
Yeah, so he's sitting in a bar and he's angry at his situation. He's angry at Becca. He's angry at the fact that he feels powerless in this situation. So he does what every natural warm-blooded man would probably do in this situation, and he gets himself in a giant fight and a scrape in a thrash pit and gets the crap beat out of him so he can feel on the outside as bad as he feels on the inside, so to speak. And I actually, I'm not sure if I'm jumping too far ahead here in his story, but I didn't find it, I found it kind of cliche yet still kind of on point, that after all of this, as he hits this low, he's trying to lay low, and at the same time, where does he go? He tries to find some sort of solace and comfort. So he goes to where his dog is, back to his mom's house, get that home cooking, and maybe nurse the wound. I don't know. But I did find that kind of funny that that's where he ended up after that.
Was that his mom or his aunt?
I can't recall.
It was his aunt.
Oh, aunt. Okay.
It was his
I guess
aunt.
is his mom dead? Have they ever said?
No, so the aunt was talking about how the parents were flying over, presumably from abroad, considering Butcher has a English accent. Butcher doesn't really seem to want to see his parents. The only person or loved one he wants to see, rather, is his bulldog, Terror. So, Terror, what a character. I mean, that's
thinking of
something...
this stuffed animal of Homelander. That's all.
Oh yeah. So yeah, definitely. But Aunt Judy's pretty bomb because she's got a hideout room for the boys.
A taffy room.
Taffy room.
Yeah.
You talk about that home good home cooking. That's the taffy
That'll
right
take
there.
your mind off of things.
So Justin, what all transpires with the boys? I mean, they're pretty much all together with the exception of Frenchie and Kimiko, and we'll talk about them separately. But the boys, Butcher, MM, and Huey, there's a lot going on at Aunt Judy's.
Yeah, so basically, like picking up what Nathan said a little bit ago, Butcher gets into a fight. He's all beaten up. He goes to a grocery store or like a CVS to he's in like the frozen food section. He's gonna get some frozen peas to put on his face, on his bruises, and of course, it's like he goes to the frozen food section and the frozen foods are Vought Fresh Farms, which I thought was kind of cool. He gets a bag of peas, and of course, Homelander's on the cover of the bag. But it just shows how these superheroes are basically just like mass marketed. They're everywhere, like stores. Everywhere you look, there's a billboard or a commercial for their music or movies or TV shows. It's just kind of overload. But Butcher, while he's in the store, he's searching for of course, we don't know this at the time, but he's looking for a squeaky doll or a toy for his dog. And while he's doing that, he gets a call from Huey. He talks to Huey briefly, says he's going to retire, go to Argentina. And he calls Huey his canary. So Huey thinks this is obviously pretty strange. He tells MM about what all happened, and MM knows what the canary means. He knows what the squeaky toy means, and they all meet up at Butcher's aunt's house, which we're not sure where that is, but I assume in the tri-state area, maybe. I don't know. Didn't seem like it was that far away. And while they're there, they're followed there by a certain superhero or a certain Snoop, that being Black Noir, and he's hiding on top of the house. He's followed Butcher from the previous episode where Butcher went to find Becca at the compound, and so he's been on the trail for Butcher since then. And the trail leads into Butcher's aunt's house, and so that's where we have some pretty intense scenes. And I'll kick it over to George if George wants to talk about what happens between Black Noir and Butcher.
So Butcher basically wants to sacrifice himself, just so the boys don't have to deal with Black Noir and do all this stuff. And Huey and Mother's Milk they basically have his back. They don't want him to do anything. And they create like these shrapnel bombs to try and like as a diversion to even like remotely stop him, which is basically impossible. But they had to have some sort of plan, and they created these booby trap like shrapnel bombs, and they all go and hide in the bunker. And I thought he was gonna. I really thought that Butcher was gonna sacrifice himself for Huey at that in like for a quick second, and then he busts out saying that he was gonna blackmail again. He was gonna blackmail Vought with pictures of Homelander's son, basically saying that they raped his wife and they're hiding the child just in some bot farm or neighborhood, whatever you want to call it. But I didn't see as much action as I wanted from Black Noir, like we saw in the first episode. I thought they were going to put up more of a fight, but honestly, it wasn't even close. Like Black Noir is just too damn strong, and he honestly just overpowered him like nothing, and he was ready to kill all of them. And luckily, Butch had that idea to blackmail them, and they get to live to see another day.
So I found it kind of interesting that in that scene we find out that there is essentially a body cam on Black Noir with a live feed going to Edgar. And it made me wonder one of two things. Like, is he watching the others this way and they don't know it? But it seemed a pretty obvious camera, so I'm thinking not that. I'm thinking it may more be the case, and this may fall in line to some degree with the comic from the little bit I've read on how that progressed, that Black Noir is more like an agent, an operative directly for Edgar, doing Edgar's bidding more so than any of the other seven. What I'm just curious what you guys thought of that. Did you kind of think the same thing when you saw that?
That makes a lot of sense, Nathan, just because the fact that when Black Noir in the previous episode went to the crime analytics to search for Butcher, I mean, that was like the straight line. This is my one mission. This is what I'm doing, because obviously there's a link with Butcher and Becca, of course, that involves Homelander, a big Vought scandal, et cetera, et cetera. So that to me makes a lot of sense with Black Noir being a direct report to Edgar. I mean, yes, he's a soup. He's virtually indestructible, which is still crazy to me. George, I totally understand why he's like your favorite soup, probably for the time being. But one thing I do want to bring up too, and I'm going to pose this to Frank, is Black Noir seemed a little taken aback when Butcher made that threat of, you kill any one of us, you hurt any one of us, I'm going to, oust Vought for, what they're hiding about Homelander, my wife, and the son. So did it seem to you that Black Noir had no idea that this happened with Homelander?
Yeah, that's the same vibe I got. I think Black Noir operates differently from the rest of the seven. I think Black Noir, I really think he's very insulated. I don't think he really cares about the politics of what goes on in Vought. I don't think he cares about how things are ran in Vought. I think he's a guy that, what's my mission? All right, I carried it out. I think that's just how he is. He's not worried about points in marketing. He's not worried about PR. And I think that's why he's what's his name again? The boss?
Edgar.
I keep on calling him Gus.
Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah, I keep on calling him Gus from Breaking Bad. I think that's why Gus,
understandable.
Edgar uses him as his personal, assassin, because he doesn't care about any of that. And I think at the same time, simultaneously, a lot of things are hidden from him because he doesn't really care about putting himself out there as far as knowing what's going on. So as far as the dirty things that's going on with Vought, he's really taking it back because he really sees Vought as, all right, we're here to do a job. We have a moral compass. We're here to save people and make the world a better place. And I think episode 2 when Starlight exposed Vought with the whole Compound V, like he cried, like he was upset. He was visibly upset, to where the rest of the seven kind of knew what the deal was. So Well, all that being said, I think Black Noir is a pure, not pure, but like he's very no nonsense about this is a job. I'm here to do my job, and whatever it takes, I'm your guy.
He's also a very classy fellow because if you notice his ringtone for Mr. Edgar, it was Handel's Hallelujah, which is also known as the Hallelujah chorus.
That. Yeah, I did notice that. I still want to know if he talks.
Me too. There's a lot I want to know about Black Noir, but also too, still talking about this, Black Noir and Butcher scene. We also learned a lot about Butcher, specifically that he had a younger brother, which now kind of makes sense as to how he views Huey in a way. Whoever wants to talk about this little bit of info, because I think it's kind of a big turning point between Butcher and Huey. Still a lot of info that we don't know about Lenny, who's Butcher's younger brother. But Justin, you want to delve into that real quick, just real brief? What do we learn?
Well, we learned that obviously Butcher has a soft spot for Huey, even though he's said, to the contrary numerous times. He obviously cares about him. And you're right, he does kind of view him as like his little brother. And we learned that he did have a little brother named Lenny. We don't know what happened to Lenny because as Aunt Judy was telling Huey about Lenny, that's when Black Noir, stormed her house. And that's when that whole scene started. So we don't know much about that. But there definitely is a closeness between Butcher and Huey that, it's becoming more present than maybe it was in the beginning of the season where they were kind of at odds. And now, you can tell Huey realizes that like he doesn't have a whole lot going on in his life, and the boys and the group is pretty much all he has. And so he's kind of clinging to that. And Butcher's, seeing that he doesn't have a whole lot either, and definitely Huey and MM and Frenchie and all these characters, this is his family, so.
They're the Spice Girls, that's what it is.
I also want to add one thing to that. I actually liked the very poetic allusion to a canary in a coal mine, which is usually a warning that there's toxic levels in the air in the coal mine, which is usually like it's your early warning sign that you're in a dangerous situation, that you're maybe about to, in this case, self-destruct. So Huey was that canary in a way, like Lenny was, that was able to go, you're going too far, and pull them back from the brink, which I really liked that analogy that they used there.
Definitely. I mean, we saw rough patches between Butcher and Huey, and I think we're going to see a better relationship between the two of them. George, I want to talk about our other boys that didn't have a whole lot of screen time, but they're just equally important to us, and that's Frenchie and Kimiko. What's going on with them?
So Frenchie is still kind of obsessed with Kimiko, like just trying to watch her and make sure she doesn't do anything stupid, which she obviously does right away by going and killing these like Russian mobsters. And then he tails her after that to see where she goes, and she goes to this church and she meets I don't know what her name is, the other girl.
Cherie.
Cherie.
Okay.
So Cherie. So she meets Cherie at a church, and Frenchie walks into it, and he's very upset that she's basically doing hits for her and working for her by killing all these people. And she's like, "You're not a monster." Like, he sees her as the good person she is, that he knows that she is. And he's just upset. And after that, he gives up. He's like, whatever, go be a monster, do whatever you want. And he basically just tells her to F off, and that's it. That's pretty much all that happened with them. It wasn't much, not much going on this episode with them.
Yeah, but Kimiko killing those Russian mobsters, whoa. Like, I mean, she literally ripped a dude's face off. Like, that was, oh my gosh.
And Brittany, before she did that, what were the mobsters talking about? That was kind of a funny scene.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Justin. One of my favorite topics to talk about, which I want to talk about here on The Watchers, but you guys need to watch Hamilton. The Russian mobsters were talking about Hamilton, and one dude was having a problem with the fact that Puerto Rican was cast as Alexander Hamilton, but he was a white guy. No, it's a metaphor about, immigrant experience in America, which is very, very true. The people of color casting was done purposefully. You guys need to watch Hamilton. I know Justin and Nathan have watched it. George, don't shake your head at me. Don't shake your head at me. No. You need to watch it. Frank, you need to watch it too. We need to have a watcher tonight to watch Hamilton.
Honestly, I think y'all would like it. I mean, I'm not a musical person by any stretch, but it's pretty entertaining. Like the music's pretty good, and I came away from that. I was so impressed because like it's 2.5 hours solid of just songs that are telling a story. It's crazy creative what they did. Some of the songs are really good. I don't think like if you watch it, I don't think you're going to regret it. It might not be your favorite thing. Like you might not want to see Hamilton 2, but like, I mean, it's solid.
If Frank watches it, I will maybe watch it.
That means George won't be watching it.
I mean, y'all can just come over. We'll do some popcorn. We'll get some beverages.
Broadways are too long. That's just too long for me. The only Broadway I watched was against my will was Lion King. My sister dragged me to that. It was all right. It's just too long. I can't sit and watch them for 3 hours.
You're killing me. You're killing me. Okay. All right, we're gonna move past the Hamilton talk. I'm gonna make it happen one day. If not, maybe it'll be Justin and me and maybe Nathan, talking about Hamilton. Fine, whatever. Y'all suck. No, but with Kimiko, she obviously feels really guilty about Kenji's death, her brother, and she does try to communicate that with Frenchie, and Frenchie gets very frustrated about that whole thing. So my question I'm going to pose to any one of you guys, is she going to reconcile with Frenchie and the boys? Is she going to, kind of turn back, not be a monster? You think we're going to see that happen? Anyone?
The answer is yes. She for sure will.
Okay. Thank you, Justin, for answering that question.
Also, we didn't talk about this, but the fact that while she's killing those guys in that what is it like a salon or something, or where was the?
I think it was a bar.
It was a bar. Okay. Yeah. You notice she does like a Hurricane Rana wrestling move, which is like it's a Black Widow style move, but it's made famous by Lucha Libre competitors. So. I'm here all day if you want to talk about professional wrestling. I know a lot about it, so just wanted to drop that in there. Okay, thanks. Bye.
All right, guys, we're going to talk about The Dawn of the Seven, which is in the making, starring our soups. Although we've already talked about, of course, about Homelander and Stormfront, but we're going to talk about Queen Maeve, A-Train, Starlight, we've already talked a little bit about, and The Deep. So, Nathan, Queen Maeve, they've incorporated her coming out in the movie, and it's awful.
It's terrible. I knew as the scene was beginning to play out, obviously where this was going. I prayed it wasn't gonna be as bad and campy and insensitive as it would be, but this is The Boys. I should have known better. And it was incredibly insensitive.
Yeah. Definitely.
It also kind of led to a later scene where Maeve and I can't remember her name.
Elena,
thank you. Elena, Maeve's former or ex-girlfriend, maybe girlfriend again. And Vought is trying to explain how they're going to, once again reshape what Maeve looks like. Girls get it done, or as Homelander said, getting it on. I think he put it. I saw Justin move into the mic. Beat you to it.
He said girls get it on. I love that. Yeah.
God.
I mean, I'm not saying I love girls getting. I mean, okay, I don't not love it.
I need
but,
you to stop. I need you to
but
stop.
But I love that the Homelander said that. It is classic. Yeah.
Oh man. Anyway, so Nathan, the marketing team is pitching a campaign for hashtag Brave Maeve, which includes Elena.
Yes, and of course, Elena wants nothing to do with this. She doesn't want anything to do with Vought. She storms off with the whole, basically, fucking hell, or no way in hell. And Maeve, she's silent during all this, even when Elena
means the same
turns
thing.
turns to her and it's like, why aren't you sticking up for me and us not doing this? Why are you going along with this? Well, Maeve, follows after Elena after she says she's done with this, and she explains to her that once again this is Homelander messing with her and doing everything in his power to make her life a living hell. Okay, we'll just keep saying that one.
Yeah, because in all seriousness, Elena threatens to go away, stay with her sister, and Maeve protests and says, "No, I can't protect you if you're away from me, because this is Homelander, and we're going to take that MFR down." So my question to you guys, whoever wants to answer, is this really something that Maeve should be concerned about? Because at this present time, yes, Homelander ousted her on Maria Menounos' show, and he says he's very happy for Maeve and Elena. But is Maeve overreacting, or do you think Homelander really is going to do something bad to Maeve and Elena?
As I just jump in real quick before anyone else, I just want to point out that last season, I made a point that all the existing 7, even those that living 7 that are most of them at any rate, they were all into redemptive story arcs that were going to lead them eventually on a head-to-head confrontation with Homelander, which would inevitably put them on the side of the boys, whether they're on the side of the boys or not. And I think this is just playing to that. It's what we've expected, or at least I've expected from pretty much the get-go. Frank, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. It's all good. No, those are all good points, Nathan. To answer your question, Brittany, I don't think he'll ever harm Maeve. I think it's a rise out of making Maeve cringe and suffer. And yeah, I think at the end of the day, he would have no problem killing Elena. Because when Maeve tells Elena the story, the previous episode about somebody just talking to her, he wasn't even really flirting. He was just creating conversation, and it might have been during a time when Homelander and Maeve were dating. But he got so enthralled with rage, he pretty much had his torso in one room and his head in another room. So I think ever since then, that's when Maeve really saw how off the hinge he is, and it makes all the sense in the world now why she broke up with her, because she really cares about her and she wants her to be alive, stay alive. And Homelander, he gets to a point where he's so unpredictable, and he makes the perfect villain because you can't dictate what he's gonna do next. He's so off the cuff, and I think for Maeve, she wants to alleviate all of that by just, I'd rather break your heart than see you dead.
It makes a lot of sense. George, the last thing about Maeve that I want to talk about is she tells Elena that she wants to take Homelander down, right? So Maeve goes out of her way to visit the Deep, who's passing out food for the soul books, if you will, from the Church of the Collective. And she meets up with the Deep to basically vouch for him, that he really isn't a piece of shit, and you need a woman to basically say this, but in turn he needs to help her. So what do you think is going to come out of that whole situation?
I don't know how he's going to help her. What's he going to do? Call some whales to stop Homelander? I don't see where he's what's going to help? Maybe by using the church's resources or something like that. That's the only thing I can see. But him personally doing something, I don't see what he's going to do to stop Homelander, because I think he's a joke.
Clearly divine intervention with the church.
We're just gonna have to wait and see, I suppose. So let's talk about A Train. We learned in the previous episode that Homelander basically kicked out A Train. That has been written into the movie The Dawn of the Seven, and A Train's not having it. He's like, nope, I'm not. I'm not going to say these lines. We're not going to do this farewell. Here's my rewrite for the scene, and it gets ultimately rejected by the director. And director says, hey, go talk to Ashley. So the ultimatum that Ashley gives A Train, and I'm gonna pick on Frank, about you either do this scene or I'm gonna do this. Talk about that.
Yeah, so pretty much Vought already, and it's probably Homeland's decision, but Vought pretty much came to the decision that A Train is done. Like he is a risk. He's not clean. He's mentally messed up and all of that. So they decided to write him out of a script. So they write a script. I can't remember the producer's name of the movie, but he writes a script for a perfect ending for A Train. And A Train looks at it, and A Train completely rewrites the whole script. Like he's like, I'm not cool with this. This is why I think this is where this ending should be like this. And he rewrites the whole script about he goes out. And basically, what's the PR's person name again?
Ashley.
So Ashley and the producer basically tell him like, look, either you do it like this, or we just pretty much destroy your credibility and tell the world that you're hooked on Compound V and you. I believe they brought the murder, right, of Pop Claw, or am I thinking about a different scene? Okay, well they bring up the Compound V, and to the point where he still wants to have a life after the seven. And I think the previous episode or two episodes before that talks about, kind of dives in a little bit to his upbringing and how when right before Starlight leaks out the Compound V news, he basically tells her like, you're messing up my life. You're messing up. Like I came a long way, and we're making good money. You're effing it up for us. So it kind of gives you an inside look of how his upbringing, how the whole superhero business changed his life for the better financially. So so with that blackmail that they gave him, he pretty much does the script the way it was originally written.
Yeah, it was a farewell scene that had a lot of running type, nuances to it, if you will, and they move on basically. Like A Train, okay, you did your scene, all right, we're gonna move on. So I mean, this reinforces my question of is he gonna go out quietly?
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I don't think so. I think, and like Nathan said, they're really shifting the storyline to where it's going to be everybody against Homelander. So and everybody has an axe to grind with Homelander, whether it's Maeve with Homelander outing her about her sexuality and her not being able to fully move on romantically with somebody, or it's A Train getting kicked out of the group, or Deep getting replaced and trying to come back. Or even Edgar, the power struggle between Edgar and Homelander, who's truly running the seven. So everybody has an axe to grind, and I think A Train, to what Nathan said, I think whether it's on purpose or not, they're all going to work together with the boys to bring down Homelander, and with Homelander, I think bring down Vought as well.
All right, so that pretty much sums up this past episode. There's some other quick little trivia and Easter egg things. I know Justin loves to talk about because it's just fun to see these things. So Justin, I'm going to turn it over to you. And if you guys have any other Easter eggs that you all notice, please jump in, share it with the rest of us.
Okay, thanks, Brittany. So I'm going to start off with, did y'all notice at the beginning, whenever they're talking about they're on the set for the movie Dawn of the Seven, which obviously is we've talked before, it's kind of like Batman versus Superman. It's that kind of deal. There's a part where Maeve is talking to Homelander. Homelander goes, he's talking about the movie. He goes, yeah, and he's like, this Joss rewrite really sings. That's a play on Justice League, how Joss Whedon was brought in to, be the director or whatever. So I love that part of it. I know Brittany, you noticed this, but so even though Vought is the Seven are kind of a knockoff of the DC characters, the Vought Studios logo is very similar to the Marvel Studios logo. It's kind of cool. You see the Vought Studios logo at one point. It's very similar. And of course, they call themselves the VCU, their movie series, which obviously the MCU. I don't know. That stuff is it just, I don't know, it makes me happy. It's like little like fun things that I just enjoy seeing. This was a big episode for cameos.
Oh yeah.
In this movie, in this episode, you had Greg Grunberg, who you may not know the name, but he's been in a ton of movies. In fact, the last movie he was in that I saw was Star Wars: Rise of the Skywalker. He was in the show Heroes. I don't know if y'all remember that show. I never really watched it, but he was in that show.
Good show.
Basically, he's in everything that J.J. Abrams produces or directs because he's like best friends, like childhood friends with J.J. Abrams. So if you see him in a movie, there's a very good chance it's a J.J. Abrams movie. But other cameos include, we had Nancy O'Dell. She reprised her role as an Entertainment Tonight / Access Hollywood / extra host. You had Katie Couric interviewing the Deep, obviously playing herself, which that's a pretty big get to get somebody like Katie Couric to be on the show. You had this isn't a cameo, but if you notice at the end of the video that the Deep is shooting, his commercial for the Church of the Collective, the chairman of the church, his name is Alistair Adair, I believe is the name of the character.
Sure, we'll go with that.
So anyway, the actor who plays that character, he was on ER for a long time. His name, the actor's name is Goran Visinovich. He's a Serbian, so pardon me if I can't pronounce the name. If you were a basketball player and shooting 3-pointers, I could probably know it. But anyway, he was a big star in ER. Like after George Clooney left, he kind of became like the main male lead on the show. And I watched ER the first, 12 or 13 seasons, and he was like a really big part of the show. So it's kind of cool to see him because I haven't seen him in a long time. I kind of forgot about that guy. So it's cool to see him back on TV. The part in the movie where they're filming and the director, he reads, he's like, now the CG mutants enter. And it's these dudes wearing like Green Man costumes. Like they're wearing green screen friendly outfits and they're carrying like sticks and stuff. I don't know. That was just really funny because, we see these movies and these movies make billions of dollars, but we don't see like the behind the scenes of how these movies are made and how, Thanos is a person with a stick or something. It's like a tennis ball and a stick, and they're talking to these inanimate objects, and later on they become these like CG monsters that that we all love and hate. A couple other funny things. Go ahead.
One thing I do want to jump in and talk about while we're talking about kind of CG related things, not a CG actor, but an animal actor, and we all love animals, of course. The dog actor who plays Terror was cast because as crazy as it sounds, because of his ability to be able to hump on command. However, during filming, they couldn't get the dog to obey the command, and the filmmakers were not able to get a shot of Terror and his pig girlfriend, nor a shot of him humping the toy plush Homelander. So I thought that was really funny. I still think that dog is ugly AF because I just don't care for bulldogs. I think, George, you like bulldogs in general, right?
They're cute as puppies.
Yeah, they're cute as puppies. I do agree with that statement. But I just thought that was a really fun aspect of casting this dog, because apparently Terror in the comics like plows the hell out of some neighbor's poodle. But I thought that was really interesting. One other thing, when the Deep is shooting his commercial for the Church of the Collective, there is actually a website for churchofthecollective.com. It's a real website. It leads to Sony Pictures, and it leads to their webpage for The Boys. So don't worry, guys, you're not going to be converted to anything that you don't want to be converted into, other than maybe The Boys. But that I thought was kind of cool.
We call that transmedia marketing.
There you go. There you go. So, all right, guys, what are our predictions for next episode? I'm going to put y'all on the spot, and I'm going to start with Nathan.
Well, I haven't honestly spent a lot of time thinking about it, other than I really, really, really want to see a nice full length 3-minute, if we could have it, trailer for Dawn of the Seven. That's what I want to see most. I want to see the trailer
Yes.
for Dawn of the Seven.
At least the teaser, right? The teaser, the 15-second sizzle reel or something.
Something. I mean, we had all that last episode kind of building up of them shooting it. I feel like it'd be criminal. Like, we saw them doing shoots for commercials, and then we saw the actual commercial later, right? So if I don't get a trailer, at least a like 13-second or 30-second trailer or something for the movie, I'm gonna be kind of disappointed. I'm not gonna lie.
You know, we even got to see Homelander's body double. What'd y'all think about that?
Oh,
was-
that was a cut, man. Because like he delivered all those lines, right? A-Train does, and I was like, man, that was really like heartfelt. Like, I know it's a line for a movie he doesn't want to say, but you could hear the resolve in his voice there of just like, I have to do this. I'm out of choice, and you know the underlying emotion there. It was really powerful. And as I'm watching, I was like, I bet you that's not fucking Homelander. Which is, and I was right. I was like, oh, because I know it's not uncommon to have a stand-in on shots like this. And I was like, that's kind of cruel, like very cruel, like the ultimate, the last stab or jab there. I don't know. What do you guys think? Same idea?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, A-Train, Ashley said it wouldn't be a good idea for A-Train to talk to Homelander. So why would they put him in a scene with Homelander? I mean, that just makes sense. But
No, but I think what Nathan was saying is it shows you that like A-Train's not important enough for Homelander to be there in person. You know, like
well,
he has to
right,
stand in a body double. Like,
right. But that's what I was basically trying to say is that Ashley said it wouldn't be a good idea for A-Train to talk to Homelander. So again, why would he be in the scene with A-Train? You know, because
Well,
A-Train would just get to him and talk to him.
because the characters in the movie are in the same scene together. That's why.
Whatever. Okay, George, what do you think will happen in this upcoming episode?
I think we're gonna learn more about Stormfront and whatever her plan is, and maybe get introduced to Lamplighter. And I think they're gonna explore that Sage Grove or whatever the hell that place is called. I think that's what they're gonna end up doing.
All right, Frank, what about you? Or what would you like to see happen in general?
I think A-Train joins the boys. I think A-Train hits rock bottom to the point where, I mean, he was already pretty much rock bottom. He was just hanging by a thread. I mean, he was still feeling it. He was still having heart issues, and he was not on his game. And I think he hits rock bottom to a point where he feels so betrayed that he wants payback. And I think Starlight and A-Train, I think Starlight brings A-Train back into the fold to fight for the boys on the boys' side. Now, I think with that, if that happens, I think Huey does something stupid, because I think Huey's still kind of salty from his girlfriend being murdered by A-Train. And I think that could be a rift. But I think at the end of the day, I think A-Train is going to be fighting alongside Starlight and the female against the rest of the seven.
That would make for a very interesting dynamic.
There's like 6 people left or 5 people left. Are they still technically 7?
Well, the Shockwave's gonna be getting back in. They got Stormfront replaced. So what are they, the 6 right now? I think they're
Yeah,
6
because
right now.
Shockwave came in for an interview, right?
Yeah,
Or-
but I assume at this point I'm assuming Shockwave will be in forthcoming episodes.
He's there for Vought for Tots. What are you guys talking about? There's fat kids out there that Vought is trying to, put into shape. Goodness.
But yeah, that's my prediction.
All right, Justin.
My prediction: pain.
Ooh.
Lots of pain. No, I think Stormfront. I agree with what George said. I think the Stormfront. We're going to learn more about her plan. I mean, there's only 3 episodes left this season. So, and with how quickly the show moves, I think we'll definitely see her army being put together, or we'll learn more about her movement or whatever you want to call it. So
For me, what I like to see happen is the truth coming out about her identity. Now that she's been very, very intimate with Homelander and he's like at wit's end with everyone lying to him. I do want to see what would transpire when the truth comes out about Stormfront being Liberty. She's obviously been around for a long time. I don't even know if Homelander is aware about Lamplighter and how he's aligned with Stormfront. So I'm very curious to see how that storyline could play out. But that's just me.
I feel that.
All right, Justin, it's all
Sounds
you.
good. It's all me now. It's all me. Hey, one more thing I wanted to point out: the actress who plays Aunt Judy in this episode, her name is Barbara Gordon, which kind of struck me because, and obviously Frank and Nathan know, Barbara Gordon is famously Batgirl in DC Comics.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Is that why she's got that yellow Corvette at the very end? Because that Laffy Taffy business for her, damn.
or maybe that's a canary thing because canaries are typically yellow, right? Or I mean, Laffy Taffy is usually yellow. I don't know.
Banana flavor is.
The banana flavor. There you go. Yeah.
Shake that Laffy Taffy. That
And
Laffy
sometimes when I answer the phone, I say yellow instead of hello. So
I like to go with the old YOLO.
YOLO.
Mega Mind. No, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yeah.
Olo, not YOLO. Olo.
Olo.
It's been a
Olo.
little while since I've talked on a phone, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah. We're doing it on Zoom though. Zoom's where it's at,
and we don't.
right?
I don't know. I don't Olo on a Zoom chat because
Zoom.
it's just not where it
Zoom,
happens.
Yeah.
So, did you guys know in the comic books that Madeline Stillwell is James Stillwell as a guy in the comic books?
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's James Stillwell in the comic books, and he's way more villainous and evil. But they for the show they changed it to a female as Madeline Stillwell.
Homelander have a thing for him?
Huh?
That's what I was wondering.
Homelander have a thing for him?
Would Homelander have a thing for him?
I don't know. I want to once the season wraps up, I think I want to start reading the comic books so I can see differences.
Well,
I mean-
I think, Justin, you've mentioned this before, that a lot of the characters in the comics are all males with the exception of some females. So I feel like turning that into a show would just be a huge sausage fest, which, if you're into
Right.
that, cool, but, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking
I want
barbecue,
diversity.
maybe, but yeah.
Justin, was that you last season? That unveiled that A-Train was white in the comic books.
Yeah, so A-Train was a white guy in the comic books, and then the Deep was a black guy in the comic books.
Okay.
But the Deep is like he's like I think they said he was like a 7-foot tall black guy in the comics, and he wore like a
Aquatic helmet,
Whatever that-
a fishbowl.
an aquatic helmet where you never see his face.
Mm.
So, and then also in the comics, like Black Noir was like the clone of Homelander, and he could also fly. So they're definitely not sticking with the comics. They're they're taking the source material, taking the good stuff, changing it where they see fit. I think I haven't read the comics obviously, but I think it's working pretty well with what the changes they've made.
Mm.
Because if all the characters were male, it wouldn't work as well. I mean, Elizabeth Shue was a huge get for that show, and some of the other characters like Stormfront. If Stormfront was a guy this season, it wouldn't be as good. I mean, definitely that last scene would not have been something I would want to watch. So, eh,
Oh wait, is Stormfront a guy in the comic books?
yeah, he's a man
yeah.
in the comic books. Yeah, he's a
Oh.
Nazi Germany creation, I think. So,
Ah.
and
Yeah.
Who
speaking
looks
of that,
mildly
earlier-
reminiscent of Shazam, actually.
yeah, or Captain Marvel, right? I mean,
Yeah,
the original
yeah.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
We could go down a rabbit hole with that.
Well, so the sexual relationship between Stillwell and Homelander is in the comic books too. So I think yeah, he's bisexual in the comic books.
So maybe Homolander, if you know what I'm saying.
Stop it.
Oh,
Stop
Sorry.
it.
Sorry, it was too easy. It was right there.
That was rude.
It was like it's like you put it on a tee. It's like Justin swing, just swing. And we're talking about swinging a
And
baseball
it
bat. We're talking about swinging a baseball bat, too, not any other kind of swinging. Okay, let me be very clear with that. I just talking about swinging a baseball bat.
God.
Here, Justin.
All right, Justin, I think you need to wrap
it's-
this up. You're done.
It's
You're done.
absolutely pouring in my part of town. Like
You're
it's,
cut off.
Okay. Well, thanks again for watching, listening to our podcast. And once again, Brittany, how can they find us on social media if they want to do that?
Oh, sure. So you can simply follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram by searching Watchers in the Basement. George, where can they find us to subscribe to our podcasts?
So please, guys, take a quick second, go subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and please leave us a 5-star rating, like right now. Go pause the video and go give us a 5-star rating right now. Then you come back and finish this. We definitely appreciate that. It'll help us out a lot.
Also, everybody, whenever you're tagging our posts, make sure you tag it with hashtag Watchers Basement. That way we can keep track of that as well.
Yep, that's it. We appreciate that. So I think we're going to wrap up the show now. So for George, Frank, Nathan, and Brittany, this is Justin signing off. We'll see you next week.